So I'm with Warren Skidmore. He's from the 30-meter telescope observatory. And what is your official title?
My official title is a TMT Systems Scientist.
So you've been working with the project for a very long time and have done a lot of work on the site for the project. Could you tell us about how that works? Because some people might think that by site testing you just go up to where you think you might want to have a telescope. You look up at the sky, looks good.
So when we did the TMT site testing, starting nearly 14 years ago, we had to develop new equipment for characterizing the atmosphere above potential sites for observatories. And then we took that new equipment out to several different locations and ran the equipment in a robotic mode for several years to build a good database of measurements with which to inform ourselves about the qualities of the different sites.
Okay. And you did site testing for a number of different sites, some in the Northern Hemisphere, some in Chile. Could you tell us why Maunakea is impressive as a site?
Well, all the sites that we tested were expected to be outstanding sites, and they were all very good with each had different qualities, and we found that the qualities that Maunakea had were very well aligned to support the type of science that we expected to do with TMT.
So, like, a lot of people might wonder, why can't you build TMT on Mount Fuji? We hear a lot of that. Like, what about Mount Everest or K2? Why would those not be great sites for the 30-meter telescope?
Well, an outstanding astronomical site needs three main properties. Lots of clear nights, of which neither of the two mountains you just mentioned, Mount Fuji and Mount Everest, have. It needs a stable atmosphere, smooth without turbulence in the atmosphere, because that disrupts the images that the telescopes can gather, which neither Mount Fuji nor Mount Everest have. Maunakea has this. And it also needs to be a very dry atmosphere. This is for observations carried out in the mid-infrared, very dry atmosphere. Maunakea has all of these properties, and there's very, very few mountains that have even approaching the same combination of these properties.
Like, we know we have Keck and Subaru and some other telescopes that are on the ridgeline, or they're on near the top of the cinder cones. So why was TMT not cited to be there? Was there a trade-off between its scientific performance versus other considerations? Could you elaborate on that?
Well, the site for TMT was decreed. That has been the only possible site where further development could take place for a giant telescope. It was the reasons for restricting development elsewhere were considered many years ago, and the site where TMT, where we tested and where we hoped to build TMT, that was identified a long time ago. Now, the reasons for identifying that site were because building a telescope on the soft soil, the soft structure in a pool would require very extensive excavations. They wanted to avoid that. They needed a site which was away from the culturally sensitive areas, and the 13 North site for TMT.
So, like, for example, not near Lake Waiau, not near Pu'upoliahu, some of those sites.
Correct, and a low visibility site. Up on the summit ridge, the telescopes are very, very visible from many places around the island. The site for TMT is down off the summit, limited visibility, lower than the other telescopes. So there were a bunch of reasons, some of which I don't know, because it was considered many years ago, and the site that was tested or proposed for TMT was the only place where further development was allowed.